Hello, Mr. A. This is Jan Wells, and I'm going to show you the dissection of my sheep brain. The first part of it, we're going to go over the external parts of the sheep brain. We have, I've taken off the dura mater, which was very thick. It was a lot thicker than I thought it would be, and very, very tough, which is really nice to know because my granddaughter, who's 2, falls down a lot, and it's nice to know something is protecting that little brain of hers. We will proceed now to my sheep brain. We have 2 hemispheres. We have the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. This is the posterior part of the brain. This is the anterior part of the brain. Up in front we have the frontal lobe right along here. Along here we have, right along here is the central sulcus. It's not quite as clear as it is on the pictures in the book, but the central sulcus divides the frontal lobe from the parietal lobe, back in here. And on either side is the precentral gyrus and the postcentral gyrus right here. Now the sulci, you can see them all over the top of the brain. They're these little deep kind of caverns or canyons along here. And on either side would be examples of the gyrus. They'd be like the plateaus of the canyons. Down the front, down the center is the longitudinal fissure, which divides the brain into left and right hemispheres. The occipital lobe is back here, in the back of the brain, back here. And then along here, right along here, is the lateral fissure, and that divides the temporal lobe, right here, from the parietal lobe. Now, if we continue on, you'll see in the back is the cerebellum, right along here, which we'll be looking at a little bit more. And then under here is the midbrain and the spinal cord, right along here. Now, on a sheep, this tends to be much more horizontal than it is on a human. Ours tends to exit our skull at a much more vertical orientation because we stand on 2 legs and sheep stand on 4 legs. Now I'm going to dissect my brain in half and I will come back. Okay, Mr. A, I have now dissected my sheep's brain in half along the longitudinal fissure. I'm going to show you from the lateral side. This is the cerebrum. This little piece right here is the cerebellum. This is the posterior end of the brain. This is the anterior end. I'm going to turn it around. Again, this is the cerebrum. This piece right here that keeps dangling is the cerebellum. Anterior part of the brain, posterior part of the brain. This area right in here is called the corpus callosum. Below that is the diencephalon, which includes the thalamus and just a little bit inferior to that is the hypothalamus. Below the diencephalon, we have the brainstem, which includes the midbrain. Below the midbrain is the pons. Below the pons is the medulla oblongata, and below that is the spinal cord. Once again, this is the cerebrum up here and the cerebellum in the back. And as I noticed and mentioned before, the spinal cord is much more horizontal. This part is much more horizontal in a sheep's brain because of the orientation of how the sheep is. And ours is much more vertical because we are a much more vertical organism. That is my sheep brain dissection. This is my Jeep. And I will see you in my eye dissection.